It's about that time of day again, folks. Welcome back to Nightly Newsletter, boys and girls. Joseph James here. Thursday evening, August 20th, 2015. Wrapping up an exceptional week in the markets. Got a little bit of whiplash here today, boy. Now, I recommended we sell the S&P, but I didn't mean everybody sell everything. Wow, boy. Crude tumbling, S&P tumbling, gold. I told you guys to watch out for that secondary reaction on gold. Gold continues to overextend. And the euro, the little market that could, holds the pullback. We get a bullish market on euro, bullish market on gold, bearish on euro. I'm sorry, on the S&P and crude oil. Boy, oh boy, do we have an exciting newsletter in store for you guys and gals. Before we jump to tonight's video, tonight's the last newsletter of the week. Give you guys that strategy for Friday. I do want to remind you guys to make sure you're watching this video on our trading blog here at Sideways Markets. If you're watching the video on our YouTube page right now, there's a link in the video description that'll take you right over here to this blog page. Bunch of reasons why you're better off watching it on our blog. First of all, free pass. If you'd like to come out and attend our live trade room next week as a guest, I'd love to give you guys a free pass if you're not a member of School of Trade. Also, we have a nightly newsletter mailing list. All I need is your name and your email address, and I'll shoot you an email every evening, just about 7:30, 7:45, when this nightly newsletter goes live. That way you never have to worry about missing another one. I'll email you. Right in the middle, below the video tonight, you'll see a link to download all of today's charts. You can download all the charts that you're going to see me using the video tonight. You can download all of them right below the video on our trading blog. And then over on the right-hand side, we have the best free trial in the business. You're going to learn more with me on your free trial than anywhere else on the interwebs. Grab your free trial on the right-hand side. You can also learn more about membership, read member reviews. And you know, we always have someone standing by 24/7 to give you guys answers to your important questions. You can contact us on the right-hand side. So don't forget, grab your free pass. Come out and join me in the trade room next week as a guest. Register for the nightly newsletter mailing list. Download those charts below the video, and again, free trial, and contact us if you have any questions along the way. Enough of the intro, Joe. Let's jump right into it. I'll tell you, this took a lot of work tonight. A lot of moving and shaking, like I said, going into it. I told you to sell the S&P. I didn't know it was going to go this far. Yeah, this was that secondary reaction. Here's what happened. FOMC meeting minutes come out yesterday afternoon. Two things. They wake up in Asia, they get a chance to read them. Also, this morning we come in, and of course, all of the analysts were able to put their numbers together, put it back on the desks of all the traders. Traders, of course, now had their plan, and we just dump. This is the fun part about being a trader, guys. You never quite know what you're going to get. We knew we wanted to be bearish. That was no doubt about it. And as we said, on the way down, looking for selling opportunities with buyer failures, reversal patterns. What a great week we've had here on the S&P. So what's the plan for tomorrow? Little bit oversold here. Now, if you zoom all the way out, we're sitting at a major range low. The world is not coming to an end, but it's definitely a bearish market at this point, right? Surprise, surprise. We blew out the wedge. Right, this little trend line here, this one you can barely see. That little trend line that I've got going on here, that trend line right there is the old price wedge, right? So that price wedge has just been absolutely smashed. Now, we may get stuck back in that. We won't know that until probably, middle of next week. The reality, though, is most important piece of this puzzle are going to be this bear channel. Now, I got to go back in time here a little bit and kind of see how that channel's formed. Right, so we're now overshooting that bear channel low. Also, A, B, C, D, measured move support. This 2025 area is also an extremely long term. I mean, you've got to go back to, I believe it is a weekly chart here. No, a daily chart here. You go back to a daily here to really start to hone in on this. So, really all we did was we just collapsed down to the lows of this range. And so what we'll do is definitely be expecting to see some profit taking here by the sellers, some bargain hunting here by those buyers. Can't predict tomorrow, but I can definitely tell you where the highest probability trades are going to come. So now let's put together a plan here. Now that we know the world's not coming to an end, now that we know that we understand why we picked 2025 to kind of sit tight here for the evening. So the E-mini S&P is bearish. We're trading at the lows of the long-term channel. We have an overshoot at the channel lows, which means sellers are going to start taking profit, buyers coming in hunting for bargains. Now buyers, I think you guys are going to have the most short-term opportunities. I'm looking for seller failures at short-term resistance areas, or if we push lower at that next leg down at the 14-quarter area. So ultimately right now, here's the problem. Sellers, this is a really difficult spot to be a seller. You're all the way down at the lows. Really, we won't even start thinking about the high percentage sells until we get back up around this 2047, right? So, I mean, we got a ways to go. So what I'm looking for here now is unfortunately counter trend, because we are in a bearish trend. If you're going to stick to the trend right now, you made your money. Okay, this is that time when I tell my clients, I tell all of our students at Trade Room, you made your money on the way down. Take your profit. Okay, don't necessarily take tomorrow off, but we do know, though, that your job as a seller is over for the time being. Now is the time to be looking for profit taking. And again, this is where some scalpers will come in. We'll be looking for this tomorrow in our trade room. I'll be looking for sellers to get in trouble down here, right? Drinking a little bit too much of the bear Kool-Aid, right? And trying to buy into those stop losses. Now be aware, again, sellers, stay patient tomorrow. I really don't think you're going to get the high probability sells until we get back up around this range low again, where we'll start looking for buyers trying to buy above it and fail and bring it back down. So sellers, tomorrow might be a beach day for you. Buyers, again, I'm talking about short-term buyers here. We're looking for seller failure, seller failure, seller failure on the way back higher. Now, if you do want to keep looking for short-term selling opportunities, the best thing if you want to sell is going to be to get up off these lows and then look for buyers to fail at the pullbacks. I won't know where those pullbacks are going to be, though, until tomorrow morning. So come out and join me tomorrow morning in the trade room, and we'll know where those pullbacks are going to be. As of right now, sellers, stay patient. We got to get up off these lows. Remember, I have no idea where tomorrow's going, but I do know where the highest probability trades are going to be, and selling this low is not that. It might keep going lower, I'm telling you right now. But the reality is historically, if you sell the lows every time you see it here, you're gonna lose your shirt. So buyers, you guys have the ball for tomorrow. But again, you're buying in a downtrend, in a bearish trend. So my best advice for the buyers tomorrow is find the short term, and we'll find some more short term areas in the trade room tomorrow. But find those short term areas. Wait for sellers to try to sell them and buy into their stop losses on the way back. I would say right now your target for a buyer is that 2050 area, give or take a few ticks there. All right, and we may not get there tomorrow. Tomorrow, with such a big move down, we may just see some profit taking here, and there may just be a little fluttering higher here. We may be, kind of ranging out. Now you're going to see a lot of this stuff going forward with these big moves today. Spiking channels, flag patterns, right? Things like that. So don't be surprised if you see a flag here, a bear flag, which again is just another example of how you're going to want to really stay patient and wait for that deeper correction, right? So sellers, stay patient. Buyers, you guys are on the ball. And again, if you're going to be a buyer right now, going counter trend, everything you're doing is treat it as a scalp first, which means tight target, small amount of risk, tighten up that stop as soon as possible, let it run, and use those overhead resistance areas for your targets. You're hoping to get a nice run back up off this thing as bargain hunting comes in and as profit taking comes in. Guys, you don't have to trade the S&P alone tomorrow. Come join me in the trade room, and we'll walk you right through the whole thing. Next up, on the crude. We go from the S&P to the CL. Now, this market sure feels heavy right now, doesn't it? Boy, it does. We had a great time today in the trade room buying this thing coming up off this low, right? Buying it up off that low. But then remarkably, it fell short of that 42. I mean, I was very surprised. It's amazing. You know, the pit on crude oil has been closed for a few months now. But that 2:30 p.m. Eastern time, we call it the FOPEN, right? F-A-U-X, right? The faux open at 9 o'clock, right? And the faux close, the fake close, right? The synthetic close at 2:30. Those don't exist anymore, right? We're just electronic now on crude oil. The only pit that's open for crude oil is the options pit, which I still got to go take a tour of that. I want to see. I can't wait to see what the exchange looks like right now. Something tells me there's a couple of guys that still come into work every day and kind of hang their ticket on the rack and go stand in the empty pit. But all kidding aside, though, we are still looking very bearish here on crude oil. Not a lot of new stuff to talk about here on crude right now. Again, we got some great buying opportunities today. Just had a field day in the trade room with buying opportunities today on crude, but it kind of fell flat. And by falling flat, it pretty much just kind of went right back down again. It kind of gave up. And that really resonates with me, just how bearish this market really is. They're clearly having difficulty right now sparking some buyer's interest. So be very careful right now being a buyer up around these highs. Really, your best opportunities here to be a seller are going to continue to come up around these major swing lows, right? That's really where we want to be waiting for those best selling opportunities right now. So what are we going to do for tomorrow? We know sellers are looking for the best trades up at those resistance levels overhead while looking for short-term opportunities with buyer failures. Okay, buyers, you guys really have a difficult time right now. Your best options right now to be a buyer are to wait for that price to make a new extreme low and then look for seller failure to buy up off that low. So really kind of going from, if we go sideways here right now, since we don't have a lot of new stuff to work with, we'll play that game. What if price goes up? What if price goes down? What if price goes sideways? If price goes sideways right now, we're going to be sitting inside of a range. So we're definitely going to keep selling at that high if this price keeps going sideways in this trading range, right? It's the exact same scenario that we had earlier on this month of August. If we go lower, that's when you buyers seller failure, buy into that stop loss of those sellers, right? So if you're going to be a buyer, be very careful if you go higher. If we go lower, that's when you want to really sink your teeth into. And if you need proof of why I'm saying that, go back and look at what happened today. As soon as we got up off these lows, this thing just kind of collapsed and came right back down like there was a weight tied to it. That tells you, right? Because I'll tell you right now, as of 11 o'clock this morning, if you would have told me that we were going to fail and go back down, I would have said, no, I don't believe it. It felt very perky, right? It was above that 41 today in the trade room. So I think, again, based on that lack of buying pressure as we get up off those lows, really the only time is buyers as we go lower, seller failure at support to be a buyer, right? Look at those green lines below and look for sellers to try selling into them and buy into those stop losses. That's really, and remember, just like I said in the S&P, anything you're buying right now on this crude market, you got to treat it as a scalp until proven otherwise. That means a tight first target, a small stop loss, tighten up that stop at your first target and let it run up to those resistance areas overhead. Try to get as much out of it as you can. As we go higher, when we go higher, we talked about this last night, right? So we know what the plan is. If we go sideways, we're trading in a range, sell the highs of the range. If we go lower, we're going overextended, buy seller failure, okay? If we go higher here, what's going to happen is we're going to try to get, now again, tomorrow's a new day. So today felt very bearish. I'm going to be looking for more confirmation of that tomorrow. But here's the problem. If we get back above this 42, there's going to be this little suction that's going to try to bring this price all the way back up. So this becomes a real trappy area right here, above the 41.94. Now it's kind of a guesstimate, right? That's not going to be the exact level. But you know, though, once this price gets above, let's just say 41.90, just to give you a round number there, it's going to be real trappy. You're going to get sellers trying to sell those lows, but don't sell into support, right? That's the problem. Once we get back above that low, now that becomes support, and you're going to see those buyers jump all over this thing and try to take this back to the highs. Now, meanwhile, don't confuse this. That just gives the sellers a little bit cheaper bullets to load back in the gun again, right? So we're not bullish yet. I'm just saying that once we get back inside that range, this price is going to get sucked right back into that like a vacuum. So here's the best way to sell it. Wait for that vacuum to fail. So what I'm looking for is buyer failure to sell it back down. You're going to have to kind of play that game. And it's just because of that 41.94. Now, buyers, here is where you can catch some sellers off guard, right? So we talked about before. Again, if you're a seller, best opportunity is going to be a buyer failure up at that resistance or selling the high of that range. Okay, if you're a seller. If you're a buyer right now, we go lower, seller failure at major support, or seller failure as we go higher. This will clearly be more aggressive if you're a buyer because, again, it does feel very heavy right now. But that's where you wait for those sellers to try once, sellers try twice. When they fail, you're buying it back in, right? So bottom line is, whether you're a bull or a bear right now, if you're a bull, seller failure at support. Seller failure at the lows of this range if you want to be a bull, right? If you're going to be a bear right now, fading the breakout of a range, buyer failure at the range low, buyer failure reversal pattern, right, at the range high. That's your plan for tomorrow. Tomorrow is a summertime Friday, so I wouldn't be surprised whatsoever if this market sticks right inside this trading range. And I would love it if it does that, because those are easy trading days for us here at School of Trade. Love range-bound markets. Don't forget, we'll be trading crude tomorrow in real time. And boy, oh boy, I must have pumped up the gold a little bit last night in the newsletter, right? I talked about gold last night, saying it was the best it looked in months. And apparently it let its ego get the best of it here today, because boom. Now, what's causing this? What's causing this? We talked about this last night in the newsletter. This is not some freak of nature. Remember, what did the FOMC meeting minutes say? They said, don't even plan on an interest rate hike. In fact, they made it so difficult to understand what the hell was going on that I think everybody's assumed no rate hike in 2015. Duh, right? Shocker. Newsflash. And then, of course, the big thing right now is there's no foreseeable timetable for a rate hike in the future, right? They got an inflation target at 2%. That's not going anywhere fast. We're still not seeing, although the market is strong, we're apparently not seeing enough out of Europe and China. I think China is what scares the bejesus out of the FOMC right now, right? It would for me. Look at the swings you're seeing in the Shanghai right now. So bottom line is, rate liftoff is nowhere to be found, right? We're talking about next summer, if I have to guess right now. So bottom line, lower rates, weak dollar, right? Lower rates, weak dollar. What does a weak dollar mean? Gold goes higher. Euro goes higher. There's no question at all about why this price is reacting this way. Now that we understand the why, which, remember guys, the why doesn't make me money. See, that's the whole thing. Understanding why just wasted 1.5 minutes of your life. Me too, right? So now that we all know the why, and we can all brag to our buddies about why gold's going higher, let's get back to making money off this. Where are the highest probability opportunities now on gold? Gold is bullish. Yeah, just a little, right? After continued reaction to this week's FOMC meeting minutes, it's extremely overbought. Now, remember what I said last night? There is no reason why this market can't keep going higher, folks. Remember what I said last night? when we were up around this area in last night's newsletter. And I said, don't you dare sell this thing right now because you don't know if this thing's done. And it sure as heck wasn't. We were definitely watching this, though, as it pulled back. I mean, you had it just ready to go for buyer failure, but we never got it. We don't guess. You can't guess as a professional trader, guys. Well, you won't be a professional trader if you guess, right? You'll be right in the ranks with all the other statistics of the 99% of folks that lose all their money, right? Because they guess too much. They overthink it. So, buyers, boy, this is tough. I know I told you last night you really can't be a buyer at these highs. I'm going to say it again. And you can call me crazy, but again, I can't tell you where tomorrow goes, but I can tell you where the highest probability opportunities are, and that's what professionals do. Professionals are not here to grab every tick of every move. We're here to allocate capital with low risk, high probability opportunities. That's our job description. It's not to predict. It's not to be correct at all times. Okay? As you can see in this example, we kept going higher. So we get this big overshoot. We've got this overshoot of the bull channel. There's really no other better channel out there to find. I looked, trust me. And of course, you'll see here, you really got to stretch this thing out to find any real technical clue. We have some long-term resistance overhead up around this 1153. We have a measured move resistance level overhead. And even that really, everything tells me here we're overbought, right? We've been dipping in the cookie jar a little bit too much for the bulls here. So buyers, stay patient. This is the exact opposite scenario that we saw for the S&P, right? S&P sellers stay patient. Gold buyers stay patient, right? Unless you want to buy these highs. But again, historically, you're not going to make much money buying highs if you do it every time, right? So you can't tell me, well, Joe, every time it's the high I buy, I make money. No, you can't, right? It doesn't happen, okay? So what are the sellers going to do? Sellers, again, just like if you're a buyer on crude or a buyer on the S&P, if you're a seller on the gold or the euro right now, you're counter trend. And the best option right now is going to be to sell into buyer failure, buyer failure, buyer failure. Okay, now, at what point do we start thinking the buyers should start considering it again? Honestly, back at this last major swing, 1126.2, that's where you're going to start getting some more interest here from the bulls, some serious interest, not just scalping, gambling interest. Okay, so if you're a buyer right now, you've really got some patience on your hand. If you're a bull on gold, again, grab the boogie board and the fins, don't forget the sunblock, and you might have a beach day tomorrow. Okay, sellers, I think you guys are going to be the ones that have the short-term opportunities here on gold. But remember, it's really based on, you cannot guess. It's going to be based on, as we go back to these support levels, especially this trend line high, right, that channel high, that's where you can definitely expect to see a bounce. And if it fails, that'll really be your first good selling opportunity here coming off these highs. So guys, one thing about gold right now, sellers, keep your eyes open for those buyer failures at short-term support levels. Buyers, stay patient. This is what you would definitely call an irrational market right now. And the old saying always goes, it's always true. The market can remain irrational much longer than I can remain solvent, right? So don't try to understand how it will do it, why it's doing it. Just understand it's overbought right now. It needs to come back to planet Earth before we can start getting those high probability opportunities. This is when the big boys and girls put on the big boy and girl pants. They go to work and they say, okay, I got to be disciplined not to gamble tomorrow, right? Because you can see this is irrational price action right now. It makes sense, but it's in an area where you're just not going to get a lot of high probability opportunities right now on gold. Last but not least, wrapping up here on the euro. Okay, now the euro looks a whole lot better than gold does. At least on the euro, we're not ridiculously overbought. Euro also reacting bullishly. Now remember, this euro held the pullback. Remember, if you're wondering, wait, what happened, right? We did. We had a bearish market in the euro here for the past few weeks. What do we always say, right? How do we know we have a bullish move? When we hold the pullback. We held the pullback. So now here we are in a bullish market now. Just like that. Just like that. I have to be open-minded. I have to be sympathetic to both sides of this. I cannot let my ego or the fact that I told all my friends that I'm bearish, I can't let that stop me from being a professional. Professionals will turn on a dime the minute that we see that dime turn direction. So, what's our plan for the euro? Euro's bullish, trading inside a channel. We still have plenty of room to go up to those highs of that channel. Okay, this is looking pretty reasonable when it comes to compared to gold. So, buyers will look for buying opportunities at the lows of the channel, while keeping an eye out for a spiking channel in reaction to today's push higher. So buyers, your best option right now comes back at that channel low. But honestly, based on rotation, we may not get it. This bull channel, what do we know about channels? They love to rotate, right? They love to rotate. So this rotation from low to high, back down to the low, back up to that high, I think we still have some room to go here if you're a buyer on the euro right now. Okay, so I would definitely keep this as my line in the sand, this 12.14 area, right? 1.1214, give or take a few ticks, just because that's the last major swing, right? So, kind of think of it that way. If we stay above that area, we're definitely bullish. We get below that area, then there's the chance that we fail back down. But again, with that rotation in mind, the chances are very likely here that we find our way up at the high of that channel before we find our way back down at the low of that channel. Now, here's what I would expect. I would expect if we're going to push higher, this is shaping up to be what you would call a bull flag. That's one scenario where we don't quite make it all the way back down to those channel lows, but we pull back considerably, right? This is a real strong move here we've seen the last 2 days. So there's going to be some profit taking, especially going into a weekend, a summertime weekend. So keep an eye out for a spike in channel. And if we get that spike in channel, remember, the point at which the spike begins is likely going to be your last point to where the pullback, right? So the last ditch effort on that will be all the way back at this 1110. Again, that's as far back as we may pull back. So don't be surprised if it does pull back all that way. I'll be looking for buying opportunities though at support levels here as we go, right? So buying at support, buying at support, buying at support. Because I definitely do believe that we're going to find our way up at that channel high before making the leg down to that channel low. All right, guys? Sellers, stay patient here. Stay patient. In all reality, being a seller right now is probably going to be the last thing you want to be doing here on this euro. So sellers should stay patient for buyer failures at support levels if you want to sell. So if you want to be a seller right now, the best one to sell would be that 12.14. But again, you're playing with fire. Buyer failure, buyer failure, buyer failure, all the way back down. Okay, remember though, if you're going to be a seller right now in the euro, you're going against the trend. Quick first target, tight stop, get rid of that risk and try to hold it. And your target on that to hold will be back down to this channel low. Okay, keep an eye on the buy side on the euro. On the gold, very different story. Okay, wait for those buyer failures all the way up in the nosebleed seats right now on gold and look for profit taking off those highs. Again, on the crude, you're staying short. On the S&P, you're staying short, but stay patient, right? Tomorrow may be a beach day for quite a few traders tomorrow, meaning that we may not get many high probability opportunities because of this enormous shakeup in today's marketplace. But that's okay. You know me. Tomorrow morning, we're going to open up our live trade room at 8 a.m. Eastern Time. I'll invite you guys and gals to come out and join me for a Summer Friday session, and we'll wrap up the week focusing on executing our plan. Now, before I let you guys go, don't forget, Trade Room opens at 8 a.m. tomorrow. We have the best free trial in the business here at School of Trade. Check it out on our homepage. We also have beginner, intermediate, and advanced levels of membership, and we always have someone standing by 24/7, 365 to give you guys a hand. Guys and gals, what a great week. Literally one of the best weeks on this newsletter in our trade room of the last 3 or 4 months. This summer has been incredible. And I'm telling you right now, if your plan is to wait for the fall to learn how to trade the right way, you're wasting your time. Learn it now. Once we get past Labor Day, we go into the best 4 months of the year. You thought this was good price action. Just wait until we have all the big players in the markets, the hedge fund, the pension fund managers, all padding their numbers going into the end of the year. That's when it really gets fun. My name is Joseph. Thanks for tuning in this week. Don't forget, tell a friend, give me some comments, send me some feedback. I'm JJ at School of Trade. And be well out there. Have a great summertime weekend. We've only got a couple of them left here. Remember, the official end of the summer is Labor Day weekend, first weekend in September. You've only got 3 of them left, so enjoy it. Be well out there. Be nice to each other. And be here tomorrow. Adios, amigos. Bye-bye for now.